You're listening to a podcast powered by WOBI.
Hello, and welcome to the WOBI podcast, where we uncover ideas, stories, and strategies that inspire leaders and empower companies to evolve, thrive, and make a lasting positive impact. At WOBI, we believe knowledge is the ultimate competitive advantage. That's why we're here, to share powerful, cutting-edge management insights with you and your organization to fuel unparalleled growth through ideas and inspiration. We hope the next few minutes leave you feeling inspired and ready to put these ideas into action. In today's episode, we're diving into the role of purpose, not as a buzzword, but as a real driver of impact and long-term business success, which is exactly what led us to create this program, to help you lead with clarity, inspire with purpose, and build organizations that don't just keep up, but truly thrive. I'm Sophia, and I'll be your guide through this eye-opening conversation with some world-renowned experts that will challenge the way you think about purpose. In this program, we will be hearing from Gary Hamel, Amy Edmondson, Allyson Felix, Carly Fiorina, Ginni Rometty, Indra Nooyi, Gardner, and many more. You might be wondering, why is everyone talking about purpose? Why is purpose so relevant in business conversations? Well, research shows that having a strong sense of purpose leads to more positive emotions, less stress, and greater life satisfaction, as noted by the American Psychiatric Association. And when people are less stressed and happier, they tend to perform better within their organizations and naturally transmit that positivity and motivation to their teams. And continuing the conversation from an organizational perspective, those with a clear sense of purpose are more innovative, resilient, and able to attract and retain top talent. They inspire loyalty not only from employees, but also from customers who resonate with their mission. That's why we at WOBI believe purpose lies at the very heart of every business. In this program, we will explore how purpose influences business, leadership, and talent development to gain a deeper understanding of its transformative power. And how will we do that? First, we'll challenge conventional thinking around business and purpose, what it truly means to be a purpose-driven organization, and why fixating solely on measurable targets isn't just outdated. It constrains your company's potential for meaningful impact. Next, we'll explore how embracing your purpose as a leader can serve as both a catalyst for a more fulfilling life and a powerful guide for steering your organization toward lasting success. And finally, we'll examine how teams can harness a shared purpose as a dynamic engine for continuous growth, resilience, and exceptional performance. Sounds good enough, huh? Let's dive in. We're kicking things off with Alexander McCoben, a serial entrepreneur and expert in sustainable capitalism with a deep commitment to purpose. He defines his own purpose as helping great people and organizations get money to bring their positive purposes to life. That's why we believe a great place to start this section is by exploring his views on the true purpose of business and the nuanced distinctions between vision, mission, and purpose. And most importantly, why clarity in each is essential for lasting success.
The purpose of business is to find solutions to the problems that people have. And there are so many problems out there in the world today. Businesses are about identifying what they are and figuring out how you can make people's lives better. And thinking about it differently from visions and missions, because these terms are often used interchangeably with one another when they're actually very different. A vision is how the world will look once your purpose is fulfilled. It's painting a picture of the future that you're striving for. A mission is a strategy that needs to be undertaken to fulfill that purpose. That's where your business model starts to come in. But the purpose is simply your why. It's the difference you want to make in the world.
Well, that's a powerful idea to start with. What is the difference you want to make in the world? I want you to keep this in mind as we move forward and explore different perspectives on purpose. It might sound like a philosophical question, but our goal is to help you become a better leader, the kind your organization truly needs. That's why we're moving on to Marcus Collins, an award-winning marketer and expert in brand strategy, who will help you tackle this very question.
When we think about purpose, we often think about it in very lofty intellectual frames. What is your purpose? Why am I here? And that could be kind of existential, especially if you don't have a very clear answer. What I think is probably more productive is to ask, what do you believe? How do you see the world? The literature refers to it as your ideology. I think about it as your conviction. That's what are you willing to stand for, even if you're the only one standing for it. Even if everyone thinks you're crazy, you stand on it because you believe it. When you identify your conviction, the purpose becomes clear. The purpose becomes, how do I help that ideology, that conviction materialize in the world? In all the many ways in which they can manifest. How do I see the world? Not what do I do, like not the category in which I operate, not what I produce, but what do I believe? Such that that belief system becomes the North Star that guides all the things that we do. And that becomes the purpose of living. My purpose becomes to see the world manifested through that perspective. And the legacy that we leave behind is how close we were to achieving that desired outcome.
So let me ask you something again. What do you truly believe in? Have you identified it within your business? And if not, what's your plan to identify it? As Marcus just explained, purpose starts with conviction, understanding what you stand for, even when no one else does. Every moment you lack that clarity, your competitors are harnessing their beliefs to attract customers who resonate with their message. It's up to you to decide whether to catch up or be left behind. And speaking of competitors, let's turn to Gary Hamel, one of the world's most influential business thinkers and management innovators. He offers powerful insights into what defines the most successful organizations and challenges us to think deeper about purpose.
The world's most successful organizations have always been defined by a purpose that goes beyond mere profits. I don't think this is a new idea. I think if you go back more than 100 years, Henry Ford wanted to bring mobility to the world. That was a purpose. Every pharmaceutical company wants to improve human health. That's a purpose. So I do think it's important that institutions have a sense of the difference they want to make in the world. But I also think this is true of each of us as human beings, right? Life is too precious to work on inconsequential problems. So each human being, we need to have a purpose within our organization, a difference that we want to make that goes beyond simply climbing the ladder or making a bigger salary. And as human beings, we're defined not simply by our accomplishments, but by the audacity of the goals and the problems that we pursue. I think the great Nobel Prize winner many years ago, Sir Peter Medawar, said, dull and piffling problems yield dull and piffling answers. So my encouragement to everyone would be, in whatever role you have, set yourself a goal, a difference you want to make, that challenges you to think in different ways, that keeps you young, that stimulates you intellectually, that forces you to be kind of a contrarian in the way you see the world. So that's important for institutions and also for each of us as individuals.
Once your organization's purpose is clear, it's time to reflect on the purpose behind your own work. It's one thing to understand the theory, but putting it into practice? That's a whole different challenge. To help you find clarity, let's hear from Tal Ben-Shahar, a global thought leader on positive psychology, happiness, and best-selling author. He poses a powerful question: how do you see your work? As you listen to Tal Ben-Shahar, try to answer his questions through the lens of your own leadership journey.
3 work orientations, 3 ways of perceiving work. The first way is to see your work as a job. To see your work as a job means to see it as something that you have to do. It's a chore. Why do you do it? Because you need the money. What are you looking forward to? Looking forward to the end of the day. Then there are people who see their work as a career. Career is all about progress. If you're looking forward to the end of the day or week when it's a job, when it comes to a career, you're looking forward to next promotion, the next raise. And then there is work as a calling. Work as a calling is all about purpose and passion. It's something that you're meant to do, you feel. It's something that's important, meaningful, that is making a difference. Now, we all have our job days, our career days, and our calling days. The question is of degree, and what we focus on makes a difference. and we have a choice. In the words of Dutton and Wisniewski, even in the most restricted and routine jobs, employees can exert some influence on what is the essence of their work. What is it about what we already do that is making a difference? Whether it's making a difference in my colleagues, to my family, to my clients, to the world. And in just about every workplace, it's possible to find a little bit more meaning, more purpose, and what a difference that can make.
Building on the work we do, now it's Carly Fiorina's turn. No matter our industry, our role, where we come from, or where we're headed, Carly Fiorina argues there's something fundamental we all share as human beings. A firm believer that true leaders change the order of things for the better, Carly, who, by the way, made history as the first woman to lead a Fortune 50 company as CEO of HP, offers her perspective on purpose through an insightful lens.
One important thing that we all share as human beings. We all want the work we do to matter. None of us want to be just a cog in a wheel. Some of us, unfortunately, have no other option. But if we have the choice, we want to know that our work matters. We want to know that someone recognizes our work. We want to know that our work will make a difference.
To close this first section of the program, we have another inspiring woman leader from a completely different field. Now a mom of two and the founder and president of the women's shoe brand Saish, Allyson Felix earned her place in history as the most decorated American track and field athlete in Olympic history. Reaching such a level of achievement takes talent, relentless effort, and something else. Can you guess what?
To me, purpose is at the center of both being an athlete and a business owner. When I was early on in my career, purpose was all about winning medals, and that's how I measured it. And then it shifted to how can I have impact? And that's really how I saw success. And the same with business. To me, purpose has really led my business and the reason why we created it. And it gives me just that extra meaning. You know, I'm excited to go to work and I feel like I'm doing important work and I'm creating change, and that's something I want to see in the world.
Now that we've explored purpose in business, it's time to shift our focus to leadership. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover how great leadership is built on a deep sense of purpose. At the end of the day, if purpose is the engine that drives organizations, it's leaders who determine how that power is harnessed and directed. But how does purpose truly impact leadership? Purpose shapes a leader's vision, guides their decisions, and fuels their resilience when challenges arise. When purpose and leadership align, they form a powerful force that inspires others, builds trust, and drives organizations toward lasting impact. Now, let's hear from Kevin Roberts, former CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi, who can explain this far better than I can. Roberts is the mind behind some of the most iconic ads of our time, and the coiner of the term love marks. And he also has a deeply ingrained sense of purpose in everything he does.
What the world needs now is leadership, okay? Leadership. We're not getting it politically. We're not getting it from corporates, many of them. We're not getting it from our spiritual leaders. What's the role of the leader? It's to inspire everyone they touch to be the best they can be in pursuit of the company's purpose. Not the company's mission or its vision or this corporate nonsense, but its inspirational dream, its purpose. It's why we work there. It's something bigger than OGSM or bigger than strategy. It's a purpose.
With that strong introduction, we kick off the second section, purpose in leadership. Purpose enables leaders to move from good to great and, along the way, unite their teams through a shared vision. Bill George, former CEO of Medtronic and an executive fellow at Harvard Business School, expands on this idea. He gets the conversation flowing by reflecting on how to move from being a manager of people to becoming a leader of leaders.
We're called to lead with a sense of purpose. If you know your true north, it points to your North Star. Now, your North Star is that fixed point in the sky. That's the purpose of your leadership. So let me challenge you. What's the purpose of your leadership? Because if you lead without purpose, why are you leading at all? Why would people want to follow you if there's no purpose they can join with you. That's what people want to do. What are the unique gifts that you give to the world? And where does this come from in your life, in your passion? And I hope you'll really think about how can you reach your full potential? Because then you can become a leader of leaders. See, you're not just a manager of people. You're now a leader of other people. You're enabling them to be leaders. And today, it's not about managing them and directing them. It's about being a coach for your leaders and aligning them around purpose and values and getting everyone committed to shared goals that they help participate, because people support what they help create. And then you can create inclusion and a sense of belonging on your team. Because if you don't do that, it's not enough just to have diversity. People have to feel like they really belong and they are willing to collaborate. And you create that collaboration. Not that you have the answers, but they create better answers. And you do so by listening and learning from your teammates. But at the end of the day, people have to be fully accountable.
As discussed by Bill George, one of the most powerful things a leader can do is align their teams around a shared purpose and values. Building on this idea, Amy Edmondson, the world's top-ranked management thinker and the founder of the concept of psychological safety, gives leaders the keys to make it happen.
One of the most important things that leaders have to do is to tie their behavior and their request for others' effort to purpose. They need to make sure they are anchored on a meaningful, inspiring, authentic purpose that will motivate people to try hard, to do their very best. And I think when leaders are aware of and thinking about their legacy as a leader, they're more likely to lean into purpose, and they're more likely to issue profoundly good invitations to others to bring their best selves forward. So I think the combination of purpose and legacy really enable good leadership.
Feeling a clearer sense of purpose now and a better idea of how it shapes your leadership? Here's the thing. We want this podcast to be even more practical. We want you walking away with real insights and greater clarity around what purpose means to you as a leader. So let's turn to Ann Chow, who, as CEO of AT&T, led a global workforce of 35,000 employees. Ann argues that purpose, along with values and flexibility, is essential for building high-performing teams. In this next segment, she cuts straight to the chase with a reflection designed to help you sharpen your understanding of your own purpose.
Purpose is everything. It is the why behind what we do. And one of the things that I've often found helpful, if you're struggling to articulate that purpose, is to ask yourself the question, what would happen if we did not exist? And that should help you enlighten and uncover your purpose.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a practical case study is worth 1,000 explanations. To keep things actionable and grounded, we're wrapping up this section with a real-world success story. David Rowan, a tech expert and founding editor-in-chief of Wired UK magazine, shares a powerful case study that demonstrates how a clear, purpose-driven vision can transform leadership into meaningful action.
I'm going to take you to my favorite example of purpose. It comes from Peru. And this man is Carlos Rodriguez Pastor. He became a billionaire setting up the biggest conglomerate in Peru, which has banks, supermarkets, pharmacies. It's called Intercorp. When I went, it had 80,000 people. It's now about 100,000 people. They were about 4% of the GDP of Peru. And yet, he saw his purpose not as making a very successful bank, pharmacy, supermarket, hotel, cinema business, but about improving Peru, which has been a very broken society. And they built a school system because the government built a school system that wasn't improving people's outcomes. And the private schools were failing, and they had 15 education ministers in 15 years. So they created a business unit for profit, but low cost, to rethink what education could be. And they worked with the best educationists around the world. They worked with IDEO to come up with a blended online-offline curriculum from kindergarten to 18. It got double the results in the National League tables of the government and the private schools. They've exported it to other countries. And on their homepage, it said, it's not our purpose to keep the shareholders happy, to make money. It's our purpose to make Peru the best place to bring up a family in Latin America. And they started with education, slightly for profit to keep it honest. They've moved into healthcare because the government was failing. They've moved into internet connectivity. Charlie Munger said something which I think is relevant in a world where the human's role is being forced to change. And that's that the highest civilization can reach is about developing trust. And I think purpose comes when you can get people to believe in something but also trust you as a team.
All right, third and final section. Let's talk about how purpose plays a crucial role in talent management. Might be time to say what many are already thinking. A good paycheck and flexibility, while important, are no longer enough to retain top talent. That was true years ago, and it's even more evident today as new generations are reshaping the workforce. Purpose matters more than ever. People aren't just looking for jobs, they're looking for meaning. They want their work to make a difference, line up with their values, and contribute to something bigger. And if they can't find that in your organization, they'll go somewhere else. Carly Fiorina, who we've already heard from, and Marshall Goldsmith, one of the world's leading executive coaches, understand this better than most. Their insights cut right to the heart of what keeps top talent engaged and motivated. Let's hear what they have to say.
If you want to retain talent, you have to give that talent the opportunity to make an impact, the opportunity to make a difference, and then you have to reward and recognize them for doing so. Young people are even more demanding of a meaningful work experience than perhaps people were of my generation. I think young people know, particularly educated, talented young people know they have a lot of choices. They have a lot of options. And so they also want to know, if I'm going to spend my time and my energy and my talent here, it has to make a difference.
Organizational culture is very important in attracting and retaining young talent. And I think the key word there is talent. The higher up they are, the more talented they are, the easier it is to leave. So basically, if you manage people that are incredibly talented, you're managing a volunteer workforce. Why are they like a volunteer workforce? They can get another job equal to or better pay in 5 minutes. If they can leave and get a pay raise, they don't have to be there. So you need to learn to treat them like you would treat a volunteer, because in essence, they are a volunteer in your organization. And it's very important to have a culture that they want to be in, because they're not there just for the money. They can get the money someplace else, probably equal to or more. I think looking at young talent in the future, some of the cultural elements that are most important are going to be flexibility, treating people with respect, and developing them for long-term career success and being attuned to their purpose. Hubert Joly is a great leader that turned around Best Buy. I had the honor of coaching Hubert, and he really looked at business with a heart, looking at the purpose of business, and really working with young people to say, what is your purpose and how can we work together? So you help the organization, yet the organization is also helping you have a great life.
As Marshall Goldsmith points out, when it comes to retaining top talent, the right organizational culture is key. When people feel like their growth and well-being matter, they're more likely to stay. And yet, despite how obvious that sounds, it's something many leaders still miss. Now, Paul Romer, Nobel Prize winner and former chief economist of the World Bank, builds on this idea, delving into the importance of how it feels to work in a company every day. Let's hear his take.
You want to think about what matters to employees. It's not just marketable skills, but it's also the quality of their lived experience. If they're in an environment where work is unpleasant or it's a toxic environment, they will also not want to be there, even if they think they'll acquire some skills. Who wants to bear those kinds of costs? The flip side of that is an organization where there is a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, often a sense of collective endeavor. So it is more than just what the individual can get, but it's what the whole group can get from working together and achieving something. Those kinds of things, again, it makes it a more attractive place to work. It will ultimately show up as increases in shareholder value, because being a more attractive place to work will help you attract the best people, which is going to be, everybody sees now that that's going to be the most important competitive dimension in business going forward.
Are you currently taking this into account? How often do you question this in your teams? It's easy to get caught up in daily demands and focus only on what's urgent, but motivation, growth, and purpose are critical for talent in your organization. So how do you achieve this when the stakes are at their highest? Ginni Rometty, former CEO of IBM, has a lot to share, not only from her professional career, but also from the remarkable life story that shaped her approach to leadership. When her father abandoned the family, her mother was left to raise Ginni and her siblings with almost nothing. Her mother's resilience and determination, guided by the mantra, "Never let someone else define who you are," left a lasting impact on Rometty's leadership journey. And it must have been quite powerful because, fun fact, both she and her siblings grew up to become successful C-level executives. Here's Ginni's advice on guiding teams through uncertainty.
In times of uncertainty, I think what people need is something stable to hold on to. And to me, it would be a time to double down and be sure people know whatever they do, what are they in service of? Be in service of something. Remind you of your mission, your purpose. And then as well, talk about building belief in everything you do. Speak to people's heads and hearts at the same time is a way to deal with the uncertainty.
Ginni Rometty's words hit on something essential. When uncertainty shakes the foundations, purpose provides the stability people crave. But purpose doesn't just offer stability. It can also be a powerful driver of growth and profitability. That's exactly what Indra Nooyi demonstrated at PepsiCo with her initiative, Performance with Purpose. As former CEO, she redefined what it means to align purpose with performance, proving that doing good and doing well can go hand in hand.
Performance with Purpose was the direction of the company. It was a vision, a mission, purpose-driven set of words, so it served multiple purposes. Basically, it said, if PepsiCo is to remain a successful company, we had to deliver performance because at the core, we're all about performance. But we had to deliver performance with a view to ensuring that our product portfolio was really sensitive to the changing consumer needs. Our environmental footprint was net neutral to net positive, not net negative. And our people were treated in a way that allowed them to bring their whole self to work. So there were three planks to the sustainability aspect or purpose aspect: human sustainability, environmental sustainability, talent sustainability. The big difference between PepsiCo's sustainability initiatives and corporate social responsibility is that we were going to make money by focusing on sustainability. If we didn't focus on environmental sustainability, our costs would go up or we wouldn't get a license to operate. If we didn't transform our portfolio, we wouldn't get growth. So in many ways, our sustainability initiative drove shareholder value. But in corporate sustainability initiatives, you give the money you make to charitable causes. PepsiCo Foundation did that, and I laud them for that. But core Performance with Purpose was, how do we make money in a more sustainable, shareholder-friendly way? And that's why it was, ahead of its time, but successful.
To wrap things up on a high note, let's hear from Gardner. His journey is a testament to resilience, passion, and purpose, as he went from living on the streets to becoming a top earner on Wall Street and founding his own brokerage. If the name doesn't ring a bell, I'm sure this will. He's the author of the book In Pursuit of Happiness, which was later turned into a movie starring Will Smith. Chris's thoughts on purpose are the perfect way to close this program. Trust me, you're going to love what he has to say.
You have got to be doing something that you are truly passionate about. It cannot just be, I want to make money. Everybody wants to make money. You got to be doing that one thing that you would be willing to do for free. The one thing that gets you so excited the sun cannot come up soon enough in the morning because you want to go and do your thing. The one thing that makes you say, I want to become world class at this. And you got to be willing to take those little baby steps that it takes to achieve that. It's those day-by-day goals that make those big things happen. Those baby steps sometimes can be the hardest part of the journey. And acknowledging the importance of those baby steps can be the hardest part of the journey. We're in this space now, part of the space, where everyone wants to go like this. Sometimes you got to take baby steps when you don't know, when you're not sure, when it's not as clear to others, but you have to see it in your mind. And most importantly, you have to see it in your soul and say, this is where I'm going. When you're doing something you're truly passionate about, the opportunities are as big as the sky. And no matter what you've accomplished previously, you'll realize you're just a speck. But the idea is to be a purposeful and directed speck and say, I'm going that way. That's the power. To be a purposeful and directed speck that says, I'm going this way.
Chris Gardner's words always leave a mark. It's hard not to feel inspired now to chase what truly drives you, isn't it? His story reminds us of something fundamental we've seen throughout this program. Purpose isn't just a guiding force. It's the spark that ignites resilience, drives innovation, and fuels real impact. And with that, we've come to the end of our podcast on purpose, the heart of every business. Let's quickly recap what we've covered. We've taken a deep dive into purpose from 3 key angles. First, we've explored what it really means in business and how to use it as a competitive advantage. Then we've examined its vital role in effective leadership. And finally, we've uncovered how to leverage it as a powerful tool to boost team development, retention, and performance. One thing's clear. Purpose is the real driver of long-term success, whether you're redefining your business model, motivating your team, or pushing yourself to grow. No doubt, purpose is at the heart of every business. But here's the thing, purpose isn't a one-time discovery. It's a journey, something you shape, live, and evolve every day. So, what's next for you? How will you take what you've learned and turn it into action? How will you channel your purpose to inspire growth, spark change, and make a real difference? We want to hear from you. What resonated with you the most today? And what topics would you like us to cover in future episodes? Reach out and share your thoughts. We're always eager to continue the conversation. I'll leave you with that. Until next time, goodbye.